Let's just get this in our heads right now. Even if The Force Awakens ends up being the best movie of this year, it's not going to be as good as The Empire Strikes Back. It's just not. And with that said, The Empire Strikes Back is the sequel to Star Wars, released in 1980, directed by Irvin Kershner, written by Lee Brackett and Lawrence Kasdan. The movie takes place 3 years after the destruction of the Death Star, and the rebels are forced to leave their base on Yavin 4 and relocate to a new base on the desolate ice planet Hoth. For the time being, the rebels and our heroes, Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Princess Leia, Chewbacca, C-3PO, and R2-D2, feel safe, but it doesn't take long for the Empire to track them down, and a huge battle on the surface takes place, forcing the rebels to once again evacuate the planet. After the battle, and after the rebels leave, Luke Skywalker and R2-D2 head to the swamp planet of Dagobah after the spirit of Obi-Wan Kenobi tells Luke to go there to find the Jedi Master Yoda, so he can continue his Jedi training. On the other side of the galaxy, Han, Leia, Chewbacca, and 3PO are being pursued constantly by the Empire as the Millennium Falcon's hyperdrive is badly damaged. So basically, it results in our heroes being split up in a movie that is darker than the original Star Wars. And like with my review for Star Wars and the prequels, this is going to be a spoiler-filled review, and I cannot stress that enough for this movie in particular. So if you've never seen The Empire Strikes Back, stop, watch it, then come back here. So as we all know, the first Star Wars was a groundbreaking film. It changed the way movies are viewed. Regardless of how your opinions on Star Wars and its effects on the film industry are, you can't deny that it changed everything. So how do you make a sequel to one of the most groundbreaking films of all time and expect it to be as good? Well, somehow it worked. Empire Strikes Back is not only as good as Star Wars, but it's better. Everything in the first Star Wars that was either really good or could have been improved is improved in Empire Strikes Back. Everything from the tone, the characters, the writing, the special effects, all up the notch. Mark Hamill returns as Luke Skywalker, who is continuously trying to train to be a Jedi. And there are many parts of this movie where I root for him, and then at other times I am angry with him, because Luke in this movie is so rash, reckless, and so impatient that I just kind of want to slap him in the face with the Force. But it all works out in terms of developing the character further and for what happens in the end. We'll get to that later. Carrie Fisher is back as Leia, and this time I don't think she really gets that much character development. Outside of keeping one accent through the whole movie, Han's the one that gets the most development. Because while he is helping the Alliance in the first part of the movie, he still looks after himself. He still thinks about himself, but as the movie progresses, he develops feelings for Leia. The two eventually fall in love, and at the end, when he has to sacrifice himself to save Leia and Chewbacca, it's really powerful because it really shows that Han definitely does have a heart and does care for those around him. Not that the end of the first movie proved that when he saved Luke from Darth Vader, but this movie definitely proves that because Han Solo is taken out of the movie. Not killed, per se, but the fact that he's basically taken out of the movie at the end is pretty powerful. It's rare that you see one of the main protagonists in a film get disposed of. And then as for Darth Vader, he is more ruthless and evil than he ever was in the first movie. Because in the first movie, he did choke an Imperial officer with the Force, but Tarkin was there to pull on his leash and say, "Stop it!" But here, no, there's no Tarkin, so if you piss off Vader, he is not afraid to kill you. You could fuck up his lunch order at the Imperial Dining Hall. He's not afraid to choke you out. This movie put Vader on the AFI's top 100 heroes and villains list at number 3, right behind Norman Bates from Psycho and Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs. As if he wasn't iconic enough in Star Wars, again, it was here in Empire Strikes Back where he really became evil. Now, what about the new characters? Well, I mentioned a name, Yoda. Yoda is this little green alien that lives on the swamp planet of Dagobah, and that is the one that continues Luke's training to become a Jedi. Yoda is voiced and puppeteered by Frank Oz, the same guy who did Miss Piggy and Fozzie Bear on The Muppets. And the way Yoda is portrayed in this movie is really fascinating. When we first meet the little guy, we think that this is just some crazy local. He really fucks with Luke, and the way he acts reminds me of a comic relief character from a Kurosawa film, another way to connect Star Wars with Kurosawa. But as soon as it's revealed to us and Luke that this little green alien is in fact the Jedi Master Yoda, we suddenly see him as this old, wise sensei. And I like that. Obi-Wan was very much like a Merlin or Gandalf type of mentor. And sure, he did demonstrate some Force powers and talk to Luke about what the Force is, but he mainly taught Luke how to wield a lightsaber. Yoda actually teaches Luke the ways of the Force. He really goes in depth about the ideologies of the Force, how to differentiate the good from the bad, how you can see in the future with the Force, how you can lift objects. So I like how the two Jedi Masters are basically the two different mentors. Obi-Wan is a wizard, and Yoda is the sensei. In fact, the way Yoda is kind of bald reminds me of Takashi Shimura's character from Seven Samurai. Once again, showing how influential Kurosawa was to Star Wars. Another new character is Lando Calrissian, who is head of this mining operation on Cloud City on the gas planet of Bespin. He's an old friend of Han Solo, and basically, he has this playboy kind of attitude to him. He's very charming to Leia, and even though this is the first movie where we meet this guy, you get a sense that he and Han Solo do have a history, and sometimes you don't know where his allegiance lies, but, you know, in the end, it works out, and Lando is just another fascinating character. If there was one character I was bummed isn't in The Force Awakens, it would probably be Lando, but I don't think that's going to distract me. In this movie, we also get the introductions to two minor characters. One is fan favorite Boba Fett. It doesn't do anything, only has 4 lines of dialogue, yet somehow has become one of the most iconic characters in the Star Wars lore. Why is that? Is it the fact that he doesn't do anything? Is it the Mandalorian armor? Who knows, but who cares? Boba Fett is really a badass, even though he doesn't do shit. We are also introduced to the Emperor, who was name-dropped a couple of times in the first Star Wars. But here we get our first look at the guy who's basically Darth Vader's true master. In this movie, he's strangely enough played by the wife of iconic makeup artist Rick Baker, but he is voiced by someone else. It is one tiny scene, but you do get the sense that the Emperor is a threatening force. The score by John Williams is phenomenal. I don't think it's as influential as the first Star Wars was, but it's still a great score nonetheless. And it's important for introducing 3 memorable Star Wars themes. It introduced Han and Leia's love theme, which is very effective. It introduced Yoda's theme, which is so beautiful and fits the spirit of the character of Yoda. It's a song that, honestly, during the Christmas time, I like to listen to because of how peaceful and beautiful it is. But most importantly, this movie is responsible for the Imperial March. In the first movie, the Empire and Darth Vader didn't really have a theme. They were just these ominous tones. But here, they have a full-fledged march. It's intimidating, it's ruthless, and it's the voice of fear throughout the galaxy. It tells you that you can run, you can hide, but the Empire will find you, they will get you. And to give you an idea of how powerful this theme is, despite all the parodies and the times that this theme has been used for comedic effect, when I watch Empire Strikes Back and that theme pops up, I still get a sense of dread. It's that powerful. The action scenes are, again, spectacular, and the special effects are improved. The Battle of Hoth is fun to watch. The AT-AT walkers are incredible to look at. The stop motion is really effective. And then the asteroid field scene is jaw-dropping. When I first saw this movie, I thought that scene was CG, because I saw this in a time when Jurassic Park and Terminator 2 were out. But it wasn't until I reached my teenage years when I realized the scene was all practical. And it's like, how did they do that? Even today, with a ton of Star Wars knowledge out there, I am still perplexed on how they did the asteroid field scene. And it also frustrates me that 14 years later, Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla would have a similar scene in an asteroid field, yet somehow that came across as incredibly fake. This scene holds up really well, and the score by John Williams makes it that much more effective. And then in my opinion, we have what I believe is the best lightsaber battle so far. Sure, it might not be as well choreographed as the duel with Darth Maul in The Phantom Menace, but what this movie has that The Phantom Menace did not have was the ability to give a shit. When this lightsaber battle takes place between Luke and Vader, you are emotionally invested. You see Luke come into this battle rash, cocky, overconfident, and you basically watch Vader kick his ass, not only with the Force, but having to wield a lightsaber with just one hand. And at the end of the fight, Luke Skywalker pays the price for his overconfidence and recklessness. Not just for losing his hand, but for finding out a horrible truth about his father. That is, Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father. Sure, by today's standards, it's common knowledge that Darth Vader is Luke's father, but think about watching this movie in 1980. You had no idea what was coming. If there was any opening day for a movie that I would go back in time to see, I would pick Empire Strikes Back, just so I could go there, turn around when the big reveal happens, and see the audience's reaction when Darth Vader says, "I am your father." You really had no idea what was coming there. And it just shows how much darker this movie is. You know in the end that the heroes do get away, but when you really think about it and what our heroes have gone through this whole movie, the Empire won. They've separated our heroes for a long time. They basically took out Han Solo. Boba Fett escaped with Han Solo, and Luke paid the price for his irrationality. So in the end, The Empire Strikes Back is a monumental masterpiece. One of those rare instances where the sequel is ultimately better than the first movie. Again, it's a darker film, it takes risks, it makes the audience that much more invested. It kind of tortures the audience also. The characters are developed further, the special effects are improved, the music is still phenomenal. There isn't much I can add that hasn't been said over the 35 years this movie has been out. So it's pretty obvious when I say get off your ass and go see The Empire Strikes Back right now. If I had a rating higher than get off your ass and go see it right now, I would give it to The Empire Strikes Back. But I don't. So yeah, I love this movie so much. And that's my review for The Empire Strikes Back. Leave a comment and tell me what you thought of the movie. If you've seen it, what did you think? Like, subscribe, share with your friends. Don't forget to check out my official website, therealmrrobinson.com. And don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, SoundCloud, and Periscope. And this is The Real Mr. Robinson telling you there's only one. Tune in next week for my review of Return of the Jedi, the final film in the Star Wars saga so far. So until then, may the Force be with you.